Hello and welcome to Third Eye TV Africa. My name is Joy Malik. The headlines. Nigerian House of Representatives calls for improved funding for the intelligence subsector of the national security. Governor of Osun State Ademola Adeleke lauds the Department of State Service for recent arrests of suspected members of Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa Province, ISWAP. Minister of Women Affairs Iman Suleiman Ibrahim condemns the recent killings and violence against women, children, and vulnerable groups in the country. Now let's go on a quick break, and when we return, we bring you the news in detail.
For deeper analysis on security situation in Nigeria and beyond, watch Third Eye Africa TV.
Welcome back. Now the news in detail. House of Representatives Committee on National Security and Intelligence has described the 595 billion naira allocation to the intelligence subsector as grossly inadequate. Now, the committee has therefore appealed to President Bola Tinubu to direct the Minister of Finance to ensure full release of the 2024 capital allocation to the security and intelligence sector in the overall interest of the nation's security. Now, while commending the president for allocating about 4.91 trillion naira to the defense and security sector in the 2025 proposed budget, the committee lamented that the intelligence subsector appeared grossly underfunded. Now, chairman of the committee, Ahmed Santomi, who made the appeal at the budget defense session of agencies under the Office of the National Security Advisor, said that capital allocation to some of the intelligence agencies had not been released. And on fighting insecurity, the governor of Osun State, Ademola Adeleke, has lauded the Department of State Services (DSS) for the recent arrest of suspected members of Boko Haram Islamic State West African Province, ISWAP, in Ilesha. Now, a statement signed by the spokesperson to the governor, Lawale Rashid, said Governor Adeleke commended the DSS for a successful operation. The governor's statement followed reports in the media of how the secret police carried out a raid on Ogbon Idio and Ifofin areas of Ilesha last December and arrested 10 suspected ISWAP members. It described the feat as a welcome development and a big relief, not just for the government, but for the people of the state and Nigeria in general. The statement expressed absolute confidence in the security forces to keep protecting citizens. The governor showed that his administration would continue to cooperate with security agencies and support operations to ensure maximum protection for lives and property of Osun people, noting that this remains top of his priorities. Now, the Minister of Women Affairs, Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, has condemned the recent killings of sexual abuses and violence perpetrated against women, children, and vulnerable groups in the country, saying, and Abuja, the minister also promised to, among others, strengthen national response for social protection and women, children, and other vulnerable groups in Nigeria. According to the statement, the minister is deeply disturbed by the increasing cases of sexual assault, physical violence, emotional abuse, child trafficking, and online exploitations of morals within schools, homes, and communities. The minister said reports of violence against children are not only heartbreaking but also a grave violation of their fundamental rights, noting that every child deserves to live in a safe, secure, and nurturing environment free from fear, violence, and abuse. The statement said the Women Affairs Ministry is working in collaboration with relevant stakeholders to review existing legislations, including the Child Rights Act of 2003 and Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015 to introduce severe penalties for offenders and ensure stronger enforcement. Now, the Nigerian government on Monday approved a new 50% increase in the cost of telephone communities in the country. This comes 12 years after the last tariff hike was effected. Now, the increase was announced by the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC) in the statement signed by the Director of Public Affairs, Ruben. The new tariff hike comes amid agitations by telecommunications operators in the last 2 years for an upward review of the subsisting tariffs. The operators have based their agitations on negative impacts by economy and having on their operations, lamenting the impacts of naira devaluation, foreign exchange, instability, insecurity, and other factors on their expansion plans. And on the foreign scene, the 47th President of the United States, Donald Trump, has granted pardons to more than 1,500 of his supporters who stormed the Capitol on January 6, 2021, in a bid to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Trump has, just hours after taking office on Monday, also ordered that all pending criminal cases against Capitol riot defendants be dropped. Among those receiving a pardon was the former leader of the far-right Proud Boys, who was sentenced to 22 years in prison for directing a military-style assault on the Capitol. Stewart, the leader of another far-right group, the Oath Keepers, had his 18-year prison sentence commuted to time served. Both Tarrier and Stewart have been convicted of seditious conspiracy. Now let's go on a quick break, and when we come back, newspaper and press reviews continue. Welcome back.
All right, thank you for staying with us on Third Eye Television and to the newspaper review right here. We're starting with the Nation newspaper, and we have Edun, how Tinubu is stabilizing the economy and also reducing poverty. You can find that on the front page of the newspaper, and it continues on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. EFCC versus ex-bank chiefs. Quota Jones to February 13. You can find that page story on page 5. And to page 6, NACON fixes 8.3 million naira as 2025 Hajj fares. No compromises on guidelines. And then moving to page 7, page 6 and 27, Wike inaugurates Abaji Road. Suleja tanker explosion death toll rises to 98. First brain surgery at IBB hospital. And then subscribers kick as NCC OK 50% tariff hike for telcos. You can find that story on the front page and also the continuation on page 5. And still on the front page and also on page 5, NMDPRA, no room for monopoly in oil and gas sector. And then also on the front page, court condemns media trial, denies EFCC arrest warrant request, says Otudeco others not properly served. You can find that on the front page and then go to page 4 for the continuation of that story.
For deeper analysis on security situation in Nigeria and beyond, watch Third Eye Africa TV.
Well, federal government approves 50% hike in calls and data tariffs. You can find that in page 4 of Daily Trust newspaper. Now, Trump inaugurated, declares mass deportation, says only 2 genders in U.S. Federal government awards Abuja Kaduna highway contract to inactive company. Well, $6 billion Mambila power contract. Sunrise CEO testifies in Paris courts today. You can find that in page 5 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Police mom as officer found dead in Abuja hotel.
Okay, let's move now to the Leadership newspaper, where we have I Don't Take This Award for Granted, which you can find on page 32 of the Leadership newspaper, where Dangote says is awarded Person of the Year. And also quite an interesting story here, talking about the Mambila power plant, talking about 2.3 billion Mambila project case. Buhari makes appearance at ICC on Thursday. I'm in Paris to put the record straight. Obasanjo, other Nigerian leaders invited to testify. You can find this story on page 4 of the paper. And then looking at page 20, military closes in on Turkey, kills son. And then on page 22, Otudeko, Onosanya's arraignment now February 13th, page 22. And then page 6, Governor Yusuf donates land for Power Secretariat. And then Naira declines to 1,551 to the dollar amid rising demand on page 32 of the Leadership newspaper. We won't go to the back of the Leadership newspaper. We have tax reform, a fragile consensus. And this is where we draw the line here. But as usual, we have our in-house analyst, Dahiru Hassan Kera, who is here to give us a review of these newspapers. Dahiru, we have the Mambila power plant story. We have Tinubu is stabilizing the economy, reducing poverty. And Joy, what other stories do we have there from the Daily Trust?
We have Trump inauguration and then the mass deportation of foreigners, and then the two genders that he said that are only recognized in the
And you
US.
can react to any of the stories.
Well, I think let me start with this Mambila power project, and because it's mostly concerned us in Nigeria, especially with the epileptic power supply and this collapse of the national grid, vandalization of our assets. You understand the last maybe removal of subsidy on power, and a lot of things that has been a worrying issue to Nigerians, especially looking at the security, the economic situation in the country. You know, power is very vital anywhere for national growth and development. You cannot see a country making headway, more especially economic-wise, while it doesn't have a kind of revamped and a very strong energy sector, particularly the power supply. And this power issue has been lingering. You know, the Mambila Power Project, which was issued during, I think, Obasanjo's era, and a lot of things have been said here and there, and recently, maybe before the end of the Buhari's tenure, I think during his second minister, he has three of them serving within his 8 years tenure. Saleh Mama, who is still under investigation by EFCC. You know, he went to Mambila and discovered, and he released a mind-boggling issue that the contract, the Mambila Power Project was a kind of ghost project. There wasn't anything on ground. There wasn't any mobilization, and even the locals there, they were not being compensated as it was part of
when the lands were taken over for the construction of the...
So the land was taken over, but there wasn't any structural presence as per the contract is concerned. My concern here and my worry is, okay, we have been having this power issue here, there lingering, you understand, and the situation is worsening by the day. But the sad situation, the sad reality is our leaders have been accused of being compromising the power project. It's sad that our leaders were there to testify before the court that a kind of corruption was maybe perpetuated under their watch, under their own regime. You know, it's a national embarrassment to me and to many Nigerians, because like Buhari, let me just cite an example. People considering as somebody that is going to fight corruption, but unfortunately, a lot of things happen. Even the development on the file, one of his ministers was quoted saying before the emergence of the administration that they can maybe kind of deal with that power problem within a short period of time. And that person was there, and he stayed there for a very long time before he was relieved to manage only one ministry. And he hasn't done anything. And the one succeeding him also didn't do anything. It was the man that went and discovered and rebelled the mystery about the project in Mambila. And all of these things, I think they should not be happening to us as a nation. We should have a corrupt-free nation, a corrupt-free leadership. You know, I think I faulted our leadership selection processes, you understand. When most of the processes or most of the leaders emerging, they've been accusing of the one thing and the other. And at the end of the day, still they can find their ways in the position of leadership. And if you have a kind of leader that the legitimacy gap exists, or maybe there was a fraudulent way of him getting into power, you expect a lot of things like the capacity gap, the security gap, and this is what we have been having, because this power project have been lingering for a very long time, more than 2 decades now. So
my problem here with this story is not even the issue that it has been lingering for long. It is the fact that it is so shameful and embarrassing. I know if this has happened in China, I know exactly what China would have fished out the people that
people will be executed.
Buhari, Obasanjo, what even happened to Goodluck Jonathan? I mean, from Obasanjo to Buhari, Goodluck Jonathan was there, Yar'Adua was there. And now we could not solve this problem at home. It had to be taken to the ICC. Don't you think that's very, very embarrassing?
Yes,
what do you think? How do you think the anti-graft agencies in Nigeria? What's the picture is painting for you?
That's why I said earlier on that it's national embarrassment, because looking at our former presidents being testifying in the court, and the corruption being alleged was perpetuated under their own watch, under their regimes, you understand. And we have a country, we live in a country that we have a lot of security and financial crime commissions, you understand. Some of them were even said to have a kind of overlapping responsibilities, but yet corruption is being perpetuated in Nigeria on a regular basis. And most of analysts, more especially from the legal perspective, are faulting legal framework, you understand, because most of those people being accused and go trial in the court, most of the cases will stay for long without you understand, passing judgment, and that gave the leadership a kind of impetus to do whatsoever they feel like doing, and they feel like, okay, even if I have done this, I know within maybe if I got arrested and got bail, eventually the case will linger the way I want. So this is part of the problems. And also, though EFCC have started looking inwards, you understand, by expelling about 27
members,
detaining 10, you understand. So it's like, okay, this time around the chairman wanted to be very serious, because when you started showing a kind of leadership character, a wisdom within your own club, you understand.
But don't you think it's just some sort of a facade? It's just some sort of to show that we're working.
You are working,
and of course they will definitely find a scapegoat. Now, if you look at it, if you've ever read the Mafia Manager, in the Mafia Manager, you always have to pick someone and make a scapegoat. Don't you think they are just trying, because they are using their staff as scapegoats? But what about the real people? We're talking about Yahaya Bello. We've seen him in the last administration. We're talking about people who have had, or who are still having their cases that are still pending, and yet those people, nothing has been done. And this case is there. It's a national, more than a national embarrassment.
We cannot rule that maybe they are just trying to maybe make their own staff a scapegoat and fall guys, you understand. Let's see how it goes. They just started, and people are just commending them for this kind of effort to maybe kind of rid off the commission from all these bad acts. And if they can do that genuinely and look outward, I think they can kind of tame all this corruption and other things prevailing in the country. And going back to Yahaya Bello and all these people you mentioned, I said it, maybe our legal procedures, you understand, need to be checkmated. A lot of things have been happening, and why all these cases have been lingering for long, you understand. And those things need to be checkmated, and we should be a very serious country. our judiciary should wake up, you understand, and do the needful. Because if they can not dispense justice within a kind of shortest possible time, you understand, people can take advantage of all these things and do whatsoever they feel like doing. And another aspect of all these things happening, corruption here and there in Nigeria, you can imagine how a sensible human being and someone is being accused of looting public funds, and at the end of the day he will be celebrated within the community.
He's coming back a hero.
You understand? So you can imagine what is happening to us as a nation. It's so sickening. I don't think if Bello Turji were coming to this issue, if Bello Turji can get arrested today, someone will just stood up and say, okay, I know him, he's my friend, something like that, or maybe he got released from detention. We look at crimes from two different angles. All these corruptions and other things gradually from the public perception, we doesn't look at them as serious crimes. That is why those people, those criminals that looted the public funds were always being celebrated by the public. And those people that maybe still cheating and other things, you understand, they can be jailed within a very short period of time, maybe within appearance within 1 2
and forgetting the fact that this one is one that leads to the next one. Right?
Yeah. It's a very complex issue, Mr. Biban. Looking at maybe our leadership style, most of those in the authority now, most of them have been accused of doing one or the other crime related to corruption and money laundering, a lot of things. And still, that is why I said it boils down to our leadership selection processes. Because in a Sana society, someone cannot commit a crime or alleged to have committed a crime, more especially financial crime and other things, and at the end of the day he got elected by the people, the same public, and in some instances he was even given a kind of authority, a lot of things, and those even celebrated the alleged criminals were I think the respected people in the society. You understand, the traditional leaders, the religious leaders, you understand, organizations here and there. And it's very sad and embarrassing for us to maybe see corruption from the other angle that the whole world is seeing. Because like you mentioned, if this thing is happening in China, many people could have been executed, I'm telling you, because these are countries that they take the picture of the country as important as it is.
They have laws and orders.
Yeah, and in Nigeria, you can do this and get away with it, and nothing will happen.
Okay, let's quickly take a look at other major stories. You can just address them quickly.
So like I said, the issue of insecurity and what has been bedeviling this country, more especially the northern part of the country, until recently where although the southern part of the countries maybe raising a kind of eyebrow that there's a kind of infiltration of criminals to those states, and luckily some of them got arrested. And like what we said here, Nigeria and the outside world, and the northern part of the country and the southern part of the country, things that are happening here security-wise in the northern part of the country, they cannot be done in some of the southern states, and the criminals will just get away with it. Like what has happened in, was it Ondo, by arresting all those Boko Haram.
Ondo is a cold clash, right?
Yeah. So
ISWAP.
I mean, you see, in the north here, like northwestern part of the country, we have Bello Turji. We have a lot of criminals holding the whole zone to ransom and doing whatsoever they feel like doing. Like in some cases and instances, they even stamp authority. You understand? Getting levies from the locals and other things. What differentiates between the kind of leadership and all these criminals is the authority. Thank God, recently there has been a kind of massive onslaught on these criminals. Some of their leaders have been brought down, and even the Bello Turji has been reported on the run, and his son has been executed. A lot of things are happening now. We appreciate the effort of the security agencies, particularly the military, that have been fighting in the northwestern part of the country under Operation Pansanyama. They have been doing well and commendable, more especially of recent times. I read in the news some criminals, bandits were kind of
Executed?
not executed, maybe surrendered to the authority in Katsina State.
Okay.
Though the governor has stand his ground that he cannot negotiate with the criminals, but yet
As
I
it should
believe
be.
it's because of the intensity of the operation, the heat that makes those people feel like, okay, let's
time to
just
surrender.
surrender. I think it's a commendable job,
Yeah.
and so long as we can maintain the tempo, we may end up maybe rescuing the whole zone, because this thing has been a kind of a serious problem that affected the economy of the northern part of the country and Nigeria at large. Most of the people living there, most of the locals are peasant farmers, you understand? They don't rely on the government. What they wanted from the government is to give them conducive operational environment where they can do their farmings, they can do their petty tradings, and a lot of things they've been doing there. But today, under this the prevailing situation, most of the farmers cannot farm, and even those that can summon courage and go and farm, at the end of the day, they may end up paying levy before they can take their produce home. And taking it to home is another thing. Taking it to market also is a problem, because you cannot move from a village to village without being encountering all these criminals. And that is, schools were shut down, especially with the rampant kidnappings of school children and all that is. You know, it has a serious negative impact on educational development within the zone. And you see, when you are growing a population that is illiterate, you know what you are growing a monster. You understand? So a lot of things are happening, and like I said earlier, that we commend the effort of the military, the Operation Pansariama, that have been doing their best to see that they secure the countries, they secure the zone from all these bad elements. And Bello Turji has been in the news, he has been running now, I believe, with this intensity, with this seriousness, even if they cannot get him.
I would also like to ask you, what if he comes out to surrender today? To say
You know,
he's no longer doing?
we've been discussing, to me, to my own opinion, you cannot kill people, hold the whole zone to ransom for all these years, and at the end of the day, because of the intensity of fire we're receiving now, he said that you're coming out to surrender. I don't think the military can take this nonsense, you understand?
Nigerians
because
would even take
the country has wasted a lot of resources to make sure that they get this guy.
Yeah.
And getting him surrendering, I think it cannot solve the problem. Like we've been discussing, you know, some states said they cannot negotiate with the criminals. More especially Zamfara State, Niger, and Katsina of recent times. And though Kaduna is taking a different, by maybe having a kind of peace accord with all these criminals, you know, I said it categorically here that, okay, those states that feel like, okay, we are not negotiating with bandits, most of them have a kind of experiences. Like in Katsina, during the Masaris regime, there was a kind of peace accord, was it twice, with those criminals, and at the end of the day, they went back and carried their guns and continue doing what they have been doing, orchestrating all sorts of criminalities, killing people, taking ransom and other things. And the same thing happened to people in Zamfara State. There was this peace accord about twice. You understand, it doesn't work, and thank God it's working for Kaduna. And I like the statement of the government through the spokesperson of the governor, that despite the fact that there's ongoing this peace accord with all these criminals, and most of the markets, the roads were open and peaceful, but yet anybody find contradicting the said agreement will be dealt with. And I appreciate that statement. That shows that the criminals are not overwhelming the power of the authority.
Okay, and that is it. We would love to have a take on the U.S. presidential inauguration, which took place about 24 hours ago. I guess when we come here